emailed me about breathing. So I thought we would focus a bit more on breathing today. Not that we're going to move any less, but maybe we're just going to be a little bit more aware of our breath, and also just explore a few different ways we can work with our breath in our yoga practice. So start by lying down, and we'll start with a very familiar way of working with our breath, which is one of my favorites, which is that some big sighing breaths. So lying on your back, knees bent or legs long, whichever you prefer, and just have a few sighing breaths. They don't have to be huge, but just slightly exaggerating your exhalation. And this feeling that when you exhale with a bit of a sigh through your mouth, that you can start to soften and let go of tension. And that's why we do that movement. Yes, and then exactly that, Helen, when we've had those big sighing breaths, if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And take a moment to feel the contact of your footprints on the floor, the contact of the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And so when we're doing this movement, and lots of the movements we do, it's helpful just to let our breathing do its own thing, to trust that our body knows how to breathe, that we know how to breathe. We are our body, and our body is us. Good. So it might be that you're feeling the shifting contact of the back of your pelvis on the floor. It might be you're feeling the weight shifting across the soles of your feet. You might be noticing some sort of creaky or tight place, or you might be noticing your breath. These are all possibilities, and it's helpful to just sort of let whatever arises into our awareness be there. And then you're going to settle in the center, and you're going to fold, does it matter? You're going to fold your right knee into your chest. And keep your left knee bent and your left foot standing on the floor. That's it. Now we often do this with both knees, but we're going to do this with one knee at this point, which is Apanasana. So what I'd like you to do is have your right hand on your right knee. And as you breathe in, you're going to let your knee move away from you. And as you exhale, you're going to fold your knee towards your chest. So the knee moves. Keep your foot close to your bottom. So your foot's not moving. It's your knee is moving away from your chest as you breathe in and back in towards your chest as you breathe out. So it's quite a simple movement, and it's really more about the breathing than the movement. So it just helps us to bring our attention to our breath. Breathing in as the knee moves away from us, breathing out as the knee folds in towards our chest. And just maybe do this 3 or 4 times. And then you can hold around your knee with both hands. So let the knee fold in towards you as you exhale. Hold around the knee with both hands. And then lengthen your left leg out on the floor. And let that left leg, maybe just roll the leg a little bit or bounce the knee. So let that left leg settle and become heavy. And then you're going to see, how does it feel to lengthen your right leg up towards the ceiling? And you could be holding onto your leg in some way. So it could be around the back of your thigh. I don't know if you're feeling, you could always hold onto your big toe. And just do a little bit of circling your ankle and pointing your heel, pointing your toes rather. Good. You could also do a little bit of shaking out that leg. So just again, really, whatever, you take your leg up to the ceiling, what do you feel like doing? You might hate this and want to come straight back down, or you might quite like it, and you might even feel that you don't want to hold on to your leg, and that's fine. Good. And when you've had enough of that leg being up, let it come down onto the floor. So lie with both legs long for a moment. And feel the length of yourself on the ground, from the back of your head to your heels. And let a breath come in. So feel your breath come in, your inhalation, and feel your out breath leave you. And then bend both knees, stand both feet on the floor again. And you're going to fold your left knee into your chest. That's it. And you're going to do this Apanasana movement again on the left side. So your left hand on your left knee. As you breathe in, move the knee away from your chest. As you breathe out, fold the knee in towards your chest. And keep your hand on your knee. So don't take your knee so far away from you that your hand slides off your knee. And it's probably easiest if your fingers are pointing towards your toes. Good. So breathing in, the knee moves away from you. Breathing out, the knee folds in towards your chest. And this just helps us to gather our attention into our breathing. So this moving with our breath, which we'll do a bit more of in some different positions today. Okay, the next time your knee comes in towards your chest, then hold around your knee with both hands. Let a breath come in and then lengthen your leg out, your left, yes, your other leg, your right leg out on the floor. That's it, good. And again, see if you can let your right, yeah, so that's Elaine, lengthen the right leg out on the floor. See if you can let that right leg settle by bouncing the knee or rolling the leg. And then you can lengthen your left leg up towards the ceiling. So I'm pleased to see you're enthusiastic about that, Elaine, despite the wine. So you can give your left leg a bit of a shake, you can circle the ankle, you can point the toes, point the heels. So again, it's just this feeling of you've taken your leg up towards the ceiling. What would you like to do? If you'd like to bring it straight back down, you can do that. But is there anything that would feel nice? And yeah, how would you want to hold your leg if you indeed want to hold it? Lovely, very nice feet, everyone. And yeah, there's quite a few people without socks on, so it must be feeling a little bit warmer, or maybe just sunny. Good. And then bring that leg down gently and lie with both legs long again. And again, you could roll your legs, you could bounce your knees, and just see how it feels. How does it feel to be lying long on the ground? And again, see how it feels to focus in on your breathing, to let a breath come in and let a breath leave us. And then we're going to fold both knees into the chest, and we're going to do Apanasana with both legs. So you're going to bring your hands onto your knees, fingers pointing towards your toes, and see if you can do this 6 times. So as you breathe in, your knees move away from your chest. As you breathe out, your knees fold in towards your chest. And think about this as being an exercise that's maybe as much about the breathing or even more about the breathing than the movement. So we're sort of slowing things down. Breathing in, we move the knees away from us. Breathing out, we fold the knees in towards us. Good. And we're looking for this feeling of coordinating our movement with our breathing. So it maybe slows down the movement, it maybe slows down the breathing. And particularly as you exhale and the knees come in towards you, feel that you really empty out and you reach the very end of your out breath. That's nice, good. I always find it very hard to count in these things. So if you've lost count, don't worry. If you feel that you've done 6, then just hug around your knees so that I know you've finished. And it doesn't matter whether you've done 5 or 6 or 7. And then one last thing before we come off our backs, you can take your legs, both legs now up to the ceiling, give them a shake out. You could add your arms in if you like. Very nice. If you're not so keen on that, you can bring your feet to stand on the floor and just shake your arms out. Good. Okay. And then whenever you like, bring your legs back down. And in a moment, we're going to make our way over onto hands and knees. So just take the time that you need, maybe roll onto one side, have a few breaths on your side. Yes, you could be taking your socks off, Sheila. So we're coming on to hands and knees, and we're going to settle on hands and knees, and we're going to do a bit of some of our cat movements, and then we're going to think about our breathing here. And the first thing I'm going to say is there's no right or wrong way to breathe here, but they feel. So when you're ready, on hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, you can start to move into cat. And start off by noticing how these movements feel in your body today. So when you round your back to the ceiling, let your head hang, gives you an idea of how your lower back is feeling. And when you dip your spine down to the floor, maybe we notice a bit more in the upper back here, that that's feeling tight. So just really noticing what you feel as you round and you dip. And then as you're doing this, I'd like you to then start to bring your attention to your breathing and just notice how you're breathing or when you're breathing. And is your breath coordinating with the movement? It doesn't have to be, but is it of its own accord? Or how does your breathing feel? And it might be, I'm feeling a little bit, I need to blow my nose. So it might be actually that your breathing is feeling a little bit constrained for whatever reason, if you're a little bit coldy or locked up. Okay. And then the next time you round your back to the ceiling, I'd like you to rock your hips all the way back over your heels and just come into child pose or kneeling for a couple of breaths. So you take the weight off your hands and your wrists for a moment. Okay, so we're going to come back into cat and we're going to see how it feels to coordinate the movement with our breathing, and we're going to try it in a couple of different ways. So let's first of all, when we round our back to the ceiling, let's exhale. And when we dip our spine down to the floor, let's breathe in. So this might have been what you've been already doing, or it might feel quite strange. So rounding your back, exhaling, dipping your spine down to the floor, breathing in. And just see how that feels for you, whether it feels easy and natural, or whether it's something you've got to think about a little bit. So exhaling, rounding the back to the ceiling. Breathing in, dipping your spine down to the floor. And then we're going to change and do the opposite. And when I was doing this yesterday, I found it very hard to change. So what we're going to do now is we're going to breathe in as we round our back to the ceiling. And we're going to exhale as we dip our spine down to the floor. So breathing in, rounding your back to the ceiling. Exhaling, dipping your spine down to the floor. The bin lorry is just out front if it sounds noisy. Just noticing whether one of these possibilities feels easier or more natural to you than the other. And then again, when you need to come out of cat, round your back to the ceiling. rock your hips back over your heels and just settle again in kneeling or child pose for a couple of breaths. So let your breath come in, let your breath leave you. So we take these little, I say mini breaks, but for me this is often my favourite time with my breathing when I'm quiet in child pose or kneeling and I'm just feeling my breath. I'm not doing anything to it. I'm just feeling the movement of my breath in my body. So let's come back onto hands and knees. And let's lengthen each leg out behind us. So we're going to come into dog pose and we're going to be thinking about our breathing in dog. So the first dog we're going to do is going to be quite familiar. We're going to move into dog pose with our out breath and we're going to focus on our out breath in dog. So big hands on the floor. I say familiar, but I think often I would say move into dog pose as you exhale. So hands and knees tucking your toes under as you let a breath come in. And then as you exhale, you're going to rock your hips back over your heels, pick your knees up off the floor, come into dog pose. And obviously in dog pose, you might start off by focusing on the movement, bending one knee, bending both knees. But then I'd like you to focus in on your out breath. And it might be that you're doing those big sighing out breaths to help you sort of soften and settle in dog. Or if dog, feels quite easy, it might be that you're just focusing on how does it feel as you breathe out. You rest down through your arms and you feel the breath leave you. So however you're aware or even working with your breath in dog pose, just making your focus being on your out breath and perhaps this feeling of softening, releasing tension as you exhale. Whenever you've had enough in that dog, yes, Elaine, it might not feel the best thing for you today. Sit back, maybe sit over your heels, give your hands a shake out. And for the next dog pose, we're going to move into dog on an inhalation, which felt very strange for me. And we're going to focus on our in-breath in dog, which is actually really, really nice. This feeling of maybe widening as we breathe in and also maybe rising up away from dog a little bit. So on hands and knees, nice big planted hands, you're going to let a breath leave you. So let a breath leave you, exhale. And then as you breathe in, you're going to be rocking your hips back over your heels, picking your knees up off the floor. So arriving into dog on an in-breath. And then when you're in dog, obviously all the things you want to do, bending one knee, bending the other. Focus on your inhalation in dog pose. And for me, it can feel really nice around the shoulders. I think particularly that's it. I almost feel when I breathe in dog, maybe I sort of come up away from the dog a little bit, that my weight possibly shifts forward slightly. So just, how does it feel to focus on your in-breath in your dog? Obviously, if there's something physically going on in dog that feels quite challenging, then you might not be able to focus on your breathing at all, and that's fine. It's just a suggestion for today. Good. Very nice. And obviously coming down from dog whenever you've had enough. And from dog pose, we're going to come on from this, I'm saying up kneeling, into this twist where we've got one's foot stepped forwards, which we do quite a lot on Mondays. So remember, you've got your little distance this way. Yeah, you're not like this. I'm sure you all know by now. And again, if your back knee isn't happy, if you're on a wooden floor and you need some more padding, always put a blanket under your back knee, or a blanket's probably better than a cushion. A thin cushion would be fine. So we're going to be turning towards our front leg. And then once we've settled in the twist, We're going to see how it feels to have 3 cycles of breath here, which might feel, I don't know, longer than we stay, I'm not sure. But so turning, the front hand can rest on your opposite thigh, the back hand can come on the back of your pelvis so your arm can hang. And then once you're in the twist, focusing in on your breathing and feeling the movement of 3 cycles of breath through your body. So feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. So when I'm in a twist, I like to focus on the feeling of my in-breath across the sort of top part of my chest. I'm feeling wide there. And then when I exhale, I like to focus on just letting my shoulders sort of drop and soften, and that back arm as well relax. So we might be on to our 3rd cycle of breath, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. And then we're going to untwist, and you're going to fold over your front leg, and then we'll walk the back leg back into a lunge. So you could tuck your back toes under and then just step that back leg back. And when you've walked your back leg away as much as you'd like to, you can keep your toes tucked or you can untuck them. And just, if I'm thinking about breathing in lunge, we probably do this every class. I always like to exaggerate my out breath, and we're working into quite sort of tight, strong muscles here through the front of the back leg, the groin and the thigh. So I always find it helps me to sort of exaggerate my breathing here. The out breath, that is good. So maybe another breath or 2 in lunge. And then we're going to do our sort of easing back out of lunge. So this is when you need to have your back toes untucked. And then keep your chest close to your thigh. Rock your weight back and look back towards your back foot. And have a breath or 2 there. So sometimes when we focus on our breathing, it is a way of just sort of perhaps timing how long we stay somewhere. We're going to do the other side. I've just turned around because otherwise I'll end up twisting away from you, which I want to do. So you're going to step the other foot forwards now. I'm trying to wobble all over the place like me. So we've got the front knee under the front heel, the back knee under the pelvis. We've got our little bit of sideways distance. So you want to feel stable here. Yes, that's it, Linda. Very nice. Stable. Good. And then turning towards the front leg. And to just take a moment or 2 to sort of settle and stabilize yourself. Hand resting on the front thigh, the back arm, you can give it away or it can rest on your pelvis. And then gathering your attention into your breathing. And again, we'll see if we can feel the movement of 3 cycles of breath through our body. So that's 3 in and out breaths. And also as you're breathing in a twist, if it feels that you have to, when you breathe in, you have to untwist slightly, that's fine. And then maybe you move a little bit more into the twist as you exhale. So these are all possibilities. We're not sort of stuck to staying in exactly the same place. We want to allow our body to respond to the breathing. So when you've had your 3 cycles of breath, then you can untwist. You can fold forwards over your front leg. You can tuck your back toes under. You can walk your back leg away behind you and end up in your lunge. That's it. And have a few breaths in your lunge. So again, that feeling of using the exhalation, if that helps you to settle into the lunge. We're giving the weight of the pelvis to the ground. There's a lot of quite tight muscles there that might be protesting. So our out breath can just help to soothe them a little bit. Settling down, settling down. Another breath or so here. And then whenever you're ready, you can ease back out of your lunge. So untucking. Well, for me, my back knee's happier if I untuck those back toes. Untucking the back toe, keeping the chest close to the front thigh, easing back out of lunge. Good. And then I think, yes, we're coming through one more dog pose, into a forward bend and up into standing. So let's just sort of keep this simple, and we'll have a few breaths in dog and just see how it feels. So tucking your toes under, you can move into dog however you like, breathing however you like, ending up in your dog, seeing how dog feels, doing whatever you like in dog in terms of focusing on the breathing or focusing on bending one knee at a time. Or anything else you feel compelled to do. Good. And from dog pose, when you're ready, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet. Into a forward bend. So, and in your forward bend, your knees might be quite bent. You might bring your elbows onto your thighs. Let your head go. Just have a couple of breaths in your forward bend, seeing how it feels to have all of your weight in your feet. And then coming up into standing, either rolling up or walking your hands up the front of your thighs, depending how you're feeling. Sorry, I did feel a little bit slightly croaky this morning. I don't know why. So let's, in standing, as we often do, let's just do this sort of loose, easy swinging twist to get ourselves moving. Wow, looks really lovely and light in your room, Linda. Good. Swinging your arms. So a bad feeling that Otto is not about, and he's probably got onto my bed to lie in the sun. Lovely. So a couple more times, swinging your arms, slapping them onto your body if you like. Just, yeah, enjoying the simple movement. So obviously in something like this, we are not trying to coordinate the movement with our breathing. We're letting our breath do its own thing. So settle down with your feet a little distance apart. And we're going to do that movement where we start to bring our weight forwards onto the balls of our feet. And we come up and down a few times. So I'd like you to do this. And yeah, a few times and see how it feels. Good. And I'm really noticing at the moment, and whether it's the usual end of the winter thing, that my feet feel so stiff and creaky at the moment, or whether it's the fact that we're just all doing more walking at the moment because it's the only thing we can do. So these things, yeah, are really nice for getting the feet moving. Think about when you do come up onto the balls of your feet, you're trying to spread the weight across the whole of the ball of the foot. So don't just be on the base of your big toe. Okay, the next time we come up, let's see if we can balance and then float our arms up. So I'm doing a very poor job of it today. That's it. Floating the arms up, letting the shoulders drop, and just settling here, settling. That's nice, settling. Letting your breath flow through you, getting quiet through the front of your body. And then we'll slowly lower our heels and we'll sweep the arms out to the sides and then down into a forward bend. You could have your elbows on your thighs, or you could release your arms all the way to the floor. Let your head go. And yeah, use your out breath to help you feel floppy and heavy, and bend your knees as much as you like. Lovely. And then sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. So we're going to do, and maybe just for a moment before we do this one where you come onto the top of each foot in turn. So we're just stretching the feet the other way, which we sometimes do in dog. Probably feels a bit nicer in dog, I think. But yeah, just roll onto the top of each foot, because we're going to come back to that balance, but we're going to coordinate it with our breathing now. And there's many different ways you could do this, but what we're going to do is as we breathe in, we're going to come up and bring our arms up out by our sides. And as we breathe out, we're going to bring our arms down in front of us and bring our heels down. So we'll do that 3 times, and then we're going to add an extra breath in. So we're going to move on our in-breath to start with. So let an out-breath leave you. And then as you breathe in, coming up onto the balls of your feet, bringing your arms up by your sides. Good. And then as you exhale, come slowly back down. The idea is our heels touch the ground as our arms reach our sides, but that may not happen in reality. So breathing in. Good. We have a little moment there, and then we exhale and come back down. There's almost a little moment where we pause at the top of our in-breath once we're up in the balance. Good. And then we exhale and come back down. Now this time, we're going to do it 3 more times, and we're going to pause and we're going to stay balancing. So from here, we'll bring our arms down and then up, and we'll stay balancing, and then you'll bring your heels down. So let a breath come in, come up into the balance, and then stay on the balls of your feet. Bring your arms down in front of you as you exhale. Bring them up again as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, your arms and your heels come down. Good. So we'll do that one twice more. So breathing in, up into the balance. And then as you exhale, your arms come down in front of you. And then as you breathe in, your arms come up again, big circle. And then arms and heels down. Good. So do that once more in your own time. Good. Very beautiful. And this time as your heels come down, you can go then all the way back down into another forward bend. And again, maybe big exhalation. Some of you I could see were doing that sort of weeping willow side to side movement in the forward bend, which is very nice, yeah, for sort of releasing tension and feeling floppy. Elaine, obviously don't do that if it's not good for your head. Lovely. And then settle in the center. As you exhale, you can sink down into your heels and roll up into standing. So we're going to see how it feels to do just, well, it could be a simple one-legged standing balance, but there is an option to make it a little bit less simple. So what I'd like you to do first of all is just close your eyes and a little bit of swaying from side to side. Choose which foot you're going to stand on first. It might be the foot you always stand on first, but it's always good just to check in, see if anything's changed, whether suddenly one foot feels a little bit keener than it normally does. Okay. So, whichever foot so open your eyes now, whichever foot you've decided to stand on, bring that hand onto your breastbone. So this is Karmanadi, this point that helps us to feel a bit more steady between the throat and the heart. So we're going to shift our weight onto our standing foot, and we're going to be catching the top of the other foot. So we come into this little balance here, dropping our knee towards the ground. Now, it might well be that you want to stay here upright. There's lots of variations you can do in this. I thought if you did want to go a bit further, you can do the one where you just start to tip forwards. So your knee starts to move back. That's the sort of first thing that happens. And then the upper body tips forwards in response. But make sure if you are doing that, your knee is moving back. Good. Yes, yes, very nice. Lovely. Good. But again, you can just stay upright. Yes, if you can't catch your foot, just catch your trouser leg. Good. Very, yeah, very, very nice. Lovely. Lovely. Well done. And Elaine, I was thinking balancing and tipping forward may just be a bit too a bit too much for you today. Good. Come down, have a little shake out. We'll try the same thing on the other side. So it's really lovely to see you doing this. And I think from when we come into the balance at this point, then it's, yeah, do what you sort of feel drawn to doing. And, you know, it might be nothing. It's staying in the simple balance. It might be going further in your own way. So swap your hands over. So you've got your hand at Kamanadi on your breastbone. You're shifting your weight into your other foot. You're peeling the foot you just stood on off the floor. You're catching your trouser leg or the top of your foot. You're trying to steady yourself at this point. And it might be, you know, if we're having a wobbly day, we need to move to a wall. And that's fine. And just from here, see, you know, where would I like to go? Would I like to just stay where I am? Would I like to explore that sort of tipping forwards movement, or tipping the knee back as the body tips forwards? A bit like sort of pivoting. Very nice. Lovely. Lovely. And I know I was just thinking how much harder it can feel one side to the other. All sorts of factors. Lovely. And then come down, have a little shake out. Let's come to a couple of shouldery things now. So settle your feet down just a little distance apart and bring your hands into prayer pose in front of you. You're going to let a breath come in, and as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and then swing your arms, crossing them in front of you. And I'm going to tell you which arm to have on top. We're going to be moving into our eagle arms through a hug. So I'd like you to give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. And then you just really don't have to then worry about side two. So from here, you're going to move on into your lovely eagle arms. Aditi, obviously don't push this if it's not great. Wash your shoulders, all these other options we've got. And then you're going to step your feet a bit wider apart, and we'll take this into a forward bend. So if at this point it's better for you to release your arms, you can do. Now I quite like to bend my knees as I come into this forward bend and really sink into my heels. So coming forwards, and then at any point release your arms. If it's helpful to have your arms crossed, keep them crossed. If it's better for you to release them, release them. Give your head to the floor. And at some point, it is nice to release the arms, maybe with a big exhalation, and let your arms be really floppy. And let everything soften and release. Good. And that's it. Yes, sink into your heels, roll back up into standing. Step your feet a little closer together and bring your hands back into prayer pose. So let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and then swing your arms, crossing them in front of you. So I'm crossing one arm on top and then the other. And then eventually we're going to move to giving ourselves a hug with the left arm on top. Dropping the shoulders down away from the ears and moving on into eagle arms or whatever works for us today. Dropping the shoulders down, and if you're going into the forward bend, stepping the feet a bit wider apart. You don't have to, but I always prefer it. And then sinking into your heels, maybe bending your knees. Releasing your arms whenever you like, keeping your arms crossed for a bit longer if you like. The weight of the arms sort of helps to lengthen us out. Very nice, very nice. And it also feels lovely when we release the arms down to the floor, and they can then feel very sort of soft and fluid. Good. Excellent. Let a breath come in, sink down into your heels, come up into standing. Now maybe just have a little shake out with your legs. We're going to do a sequence where we're going to do a few things where we're working with our feet a bit wider apart. So if I don't give you enough breaks, just come out and give your legs a shake out if you need to. So what we're going to do first of all is come into a forward bend and do a bit of shifting from side to side, bending one knee, bending the other, and just seeing how this feels. So you've got your feet a bit wider. Come into the forward bend and just, see how it feels to be in this wider forward bend. And then if you like, you can be bending one knee, bending the other, shifting your weight from side to side. Now, sometimes my knees get a bit grumbly with this. So if your knees feel a bit grumbly, then obviously don't bend one knee or don't go too far with it. But just sort of focusing on the movement. How does the movement feel? You could be having a few breaths in the center, and that's fine. But yes, how does it feel for you to be in this wide forward bend? And then we'll sink into our heels and we'll come up into standing. Back up into standing, keeping our feet light. Well, I was going to say keeping our feet like this. If you feel that you need to come out for a moment and have a shake, do. Now, we're going to come on into the one where we turn one foot out a little ways and we bend that knee. So we're coming to the sort of warrior two position, which we've been doing a little bit since Christmas. Just remember, you want to have your knee in line with your foot. You don't have to turn your foot all the way out. And then we're going to float our arms up to shoulder height. And in this one, I like to look along the middle finger of my front hand, which is my bent knee hand. And can we have 3 cycles of breath here? Trying to feel steady below the waist and sort of floaty in the arms. So letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. When you've had your 3 cycles of breath, we're then going to fold down over this bent thigh. So our elbow comes to rest on the thigh and we reach the other arm up and over. So we come into a side lengthening movement. And can you have 3 cycles of breath here, feeling steady, steady through your lower body, and then this feeling of widening through the top side of the body. So feeling your breath coming in, feeling your breath leaving you. When you've had 3 cycles of breath, you can sink into your feet and come back up into standing. And I'm really aware that for all of us, it's going to be very different how long our cycles of breath take, and there's no right or wrong about this. So we're going to try the other side now. So that foot can point forwards again, the one that it turned out, and you can turn the other foot out and bend your knee. So again, we're trying to have our knee bending straight over the midline of our foot, and we'll float the arms up to shoulder height. We'll look along the middle finger in the front arm, and we'll have 3 cycles of breath here. So you're not trying to hurry your breath, you're not trying to necessarily lengthen it out. You're just feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you 3 times. And when you've done your 3 cycles, which they take very different for everyone, then move on to the second part of this movement, resting your elbow on your thigh, reaching your top arm over, and having 3 cycles of breath here. And I'm really aware that this, for me, this pose feels very different on this side than it did to the other. So you might, on this side have to work harder to feel stable, or it might feel more easier. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. Reaching into your fingertips. Good. When you've had your 3 cycles of breath, sinking into your heels, coming back up. Now, this is another point at which you might feel that you want to bring your feet closer together and shake them out, and Jan is doing that. You don't have to. We're going to come with, I'm about to fall over, we're going to come into a wide forward bend again. And this time I'd just like you to focus on your breathing again for 3 cycles of breath. So not so much moving around if that's possible. Of course, move as you need to. So if you do need to bring your feet narrower, do so. Otherwise, then folding into your forward bend. Really feeling your heels rooted into the ground and feeling 3 cycles of breath moving through your body. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. And just all the time keep thinking about softening, letting the body, feel soft and relaxed, particularly through the shoulders. So it's fine to move if that helps you soften. Good. When you've had your 3 cycles of breath, sinking into your heels, coming back up into standing. And do give your legs a little shake out now, because we have actually got one more thing to do with our legs wide. But you don't necessarily need to have them so wide if they're finding it too much. We're going to do this sequence, which, gosh, I'm not even sure I have taught this on Zoom. It's not something I have taught for a long time. I'm going to show you just one cycle because I end up bending forwards and you won't be able to see, and you'll be doing that and won't be able to see. We're moving with our breath. We're moving on the out breath. Actually, you could do it with me if you wanted, or you could watch. So we're going to be from here. We'll let the breath come in. And as we exhale, we take our arms down and then up. You breathe in here with your arms up, and then as you exhale, you're folding forwards and you're bringing your hands onto the back of your pelvis. You're receiving an in-breath in your forward bend. And as you exhale, you're sinking into your heels and coming back up. And as you do so, you're circling your arms back up. So you're reversing this movement. So you end up here, breathing in, and then exhaling, bringing your hands down in front of you. Good. We'll do that 3 more times. So letting a breath come in, exhaling, taking your arms down and then up. Letting a breath come in here, drop your shoulders away from your ears. As you exhale, folding forwards, bringing your hands onto the back of your pelvis. Have an inhalation in the forward bend. And then as you exhale, sink into your heels. And as you roll back up again, circle your arms. So they're coming, that's it, back up here. And then exhale, bring your hands down in front of you. Prayer pose. Let a breath come in as you exhale, arms down and then up. Let the breath come in, exhaling down into your forward bend, hands onto the back of your pelvis. Receive an in-breath in your forward bend, and then as you exhale, you sink into your heels and you bring your arms back up. That's it, in this sort of big circle. Good. Breathing in, lovely. Exhaling, hands down in front of you. Do that 1 more time. See if you can do that on your own without me talking. And I will just watch you. Actually, maybe I'll do it with you. So look at me if you get lost. Good. So remember, you're moving as you exhale. You're receiving an inhalation wherever you've arrived, and then you move with the next exhalation. Lovely. Good. Let me do it 1 more time, I think. Let's exhale, take the arms down and then up. Let the breath come in. Folding forwards, receiving your in-breath in your forward bend. And then all the way back up as you exhale, receiving an inhalation. Exhaling, hands down in front of you. Good. And then give your legs a shake out, because you probably definitely had enough with your legs wide. So we're going to come to the back of our mats and we're going to make our way. Here comes Casper, rare appearance. So hands at in prayer pose at the back of your mat. He's going to be extremely bereft when Gemma goes back to school next week because he spends most of his time with her. So let a breath come in, exhaling, taking your arms down and then up. Receiving an in-breath here, and then we're going to curl down into a forward bend. Have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. And then from your forward bend, you're going to walk your hands on into dog pose. So one last dog pose. And when you arrive in that dog pose, just again, seeing what you'd like to do. If you feel the impulse to do any of your one-leg dogs, you could do. Or it might be that you're ready to fold down into child. That's it. So, depending how lively you're feeling, good. Very nice. So dog, one-leg dogs if you wish. And then folding down into child pose or kneeling. And just quietening, settling with your breathing. So we've done quite a lot of movement today, and we've thought about doing different things with our breathing, but I wanted us for the last little bit of the class just to really focus in on feeling our breath in a few different simple places and not doing anything too much to it, and some very simple movements. So first of all, in either kneeling or child pose, you're going to gather your attention into your breathing. And of course, the first thing to do is just to really sort of soften and settle and make sure you're as comfortable as possible. And then just feeling the movement of your breath in your body. So wherever you've chosen to be, either child pose or kneeling, feeling the movement of the in-breath and the out-breath. So when the breath comes in, there's a feeling of widening, of expanding. As the breath leaves us, there's a feeling maybe of narrowing, maybe also sort of softening, of settling on the ground. And it's inevitable, probably, when we bring our attention to our breathing, that we do influence it, we do change it, even if we're trying not to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it becomes slower and calmer. Now, from child pose and kneeling, let's come down onto our belly and see how it feels to breathe a little on our bellies. So I think it probably would be good to start by wiggling your pelvis from side to side a bit to help you settle. Now, in terms of being comfortable here, I often have one hand on top of the other and my cheek on my hand. You could have one arm down by your side and your head turned towards, and the other hand under your cheek. That could be more comfortable, that's a possibility. Or if you know that, however's comfortable for you on your belly, that you can settle down, you can give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle, and then you can quieten down and feel the movement of your breath in your body. So when we're lying on our belly, what we might feel when we breathe in is the back of our body, the back ribs widening and expanding. And we have more lung capacity in the back of our body. So that's why it's very helpful to lie in this position and focus on our breathing and really feel, the back ribs, the back lungs expanding with the inhalation. If you wanted to, you could take your attention away from your breathing for a moment, bend your knees and take the soles of your feet to the ceiling and let your feet tilt a little bit from side to side. Because one of the things that helps us focus on our breathing is to be as comfortable as possible in our body. So we could do a little bit of tilting of our legs from side to side, and then we could settle back again and feel our breath for a couple more cycles of breath and see how that goes. And again, maybe focusing on the sort of the sensations in the back of the body, particularly the back of the rib cage. Can we feel that part of ourselves responding to our breathing? And then from your back, you're going to be, from your belly, you're going to be rolling over onto your back. And when you arrive on your back, just do, first of all, do whatever you feel drawn to be doing. And it might be that also en route you want to put on your socks or grab a blanket to have nearby. And let me see, we'll probably do a very simple movement, but that's about all. And then a bit more breathing. So arrive on your back and just, see what you feel drawn to doing. And it could well just be lying down. Very nice. Lovely. It's really nice to all see you doing your own thing. Yeah, that's so nice. Once you've done whatever you feel it is you'd like to do, then settle down, either with your knees bent or your legs long, and bring your hands to rest somewhere on the front of your body. And do I think pop a blanket on if you would like a blanket now. And gather your attention into your breathing. And for a few cycles of breath, just see how it feels to focus on the feeling of the movement of the breath in the front of your body. And as much as possible, you're just trying to experience or be with, I suppose I think about this a lot, about sort of being with the breath, being close to your breath, without feeling you need to change it in any way. And I miss that feeling that you're resting yourself within the motion of the breath in your body. It's somewhere we can place our awareness. We can allow ourselves to settle. And then I'd like you to have 3 sighing breaths. So let your breath come in through your nostrils. Let your breath leave you with a big exhalation 3 times. And I'm just going to suggest a couple of little movements you could do. You don't have to. So the first one, which I saw some of you doing anyway, was just to let your head roll on the floor, a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. So if that seems that it would be a nice thing to do, then do that. You're very much keeping within your comfort zone, not pushing anything. And from rolling your head, finding a comfortable place to settle the back of your head on the floor. And the other thing you could do is to bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor, and let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. This could be a small movement or it could be a larger movement. That's nice. Just a few more times. And then we will settle one last time, either with the hands on the front of the body or the arms by the side. So we're going to settle, focus back in on our breathing. And again, make sure you put on a blanket if you're going to get cold. We've got maybe another minute or two. So let your arms rest. Let yourself settle. And again, let your awareness settle with your breathing, but in a very sort of soft, relaxed way. So it's fine if your attention drifts a little bit, if thoughts flow in, if thoughts flow out, but just keeping somewhere in your awareness this sensation, this feeling of the constant flow of your breath. So you're aware of the in-breath, you're aware of the out-breath. You're allowing other things to come into the field of your awareness. Might be sounds, feeling of the air on your skin. But you're not losing sight of the breath. It's staying as this constant somewhere in the field of your awareness. So take your time. Sarah, I think you should lie back down again. So if you can, might not be able to. Thank you.
That was bad timing.
Well, I think if you need, was that a loo break?